Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March Cataloging Special Interest Group of koha-US. Good to see you all here. Does anybody have anything they wanted to bring to the group?
Yes, but I'll let someone else go first.
I have something I learned, but I've got to look it all up. So.
Okay, I have some bugs of interest. I'll start putting those into the chat. This one has been pushed to Old Stable. Shortcuts links to missing fields in Mark Editor don't work as expected. So it's nice to see this one worked on. This one is also pushed to Old Stable relating to the 006 not getting correctly populated. This one has been fixed about displaying additional 245 subfields in the item search. I'm excited about it. And this one, let's see, it's a resolved duplicate. Let me get there we go. This one is pushed to stable is display incorrect when matching authority records during import. This one I came across. I staged my authority records to import, and then there were matches, and it looks really weird. The import actually works fine. Everything works fine, but it looks amazingly weird. You get like bibliographic titles showing up and everything. So I thought I'd particularly mention this one in case people were importing authority records and they were, let's see, I think what version, it's the version that we're on of Koha. Let me double check which one that is so I don't say the wrong one. 2205.
And is it the 2205 latest release, or is it earlier? Does it matter?
We're on 22.05.09.
Okay. So what I have to share came in the 2205.10.
Ooh.
They took away my power. And they gave it back. They very graciously moved it because it's in the 2311. It's in the newer versions, and they didn't realize they needed to put it in the older versions. So in the latest releases, they made my life easy again.
What did they take away?
Yeah.
Frameworks auto-populating.
Oh.
Oh. Okay. That's good to know.
I would
So
let's see. I don't know if it'll. So it's in relation to two bugs, and I don't have, those are the names. I don't have the links for them.
Okay.
There's the
29147.
other one. So let me share my screen.
Please.
What would happen is if I opened a record, guess I should have had this record before. I'll do this one because it's missing the information. So I've created default values to match RDA, the 33678 and the 942, and occasionally the 006 and 7 based on item types. And before, if you, and how it worked is when you selected the framework, it would auto-populate that in. Well, with 2205, that power was taken away. It only worked for new records, but they put it back. And so now when I do this lovely thing, my values come back.
Ooh, that's slick.
So it is related or connected to the apply framework defaults. You have to be on 2205.10 to have it. And then my mouth. You select, so the default is selected when cataloging new records. But if you want it to work when you're trying to clean up your old records, which is what most of our libraries are doing, we wanted the framework to do that. Or when editing records is new, that's totally when I would want it, because it's a new record, even though it's not. And then when importing a record via Z3950. So that is I'm very thankful that they put that. It took me a while to figure out that it was a feature that someone wrote out because they didn't think they wanted it there, and they changed how it operates. They made it a system preference, which I totally understand that not everyone wants to use frameworks the way I use them. And so now it's a lovely system preference. So that
It does look like, yeah, really handy options. Thank you for showing that. While you're screen sharing, we've had a question. How can you tell exactly what version of Koha you're on? Would you mind, Lauren? The About Koha? There you go.
Unless you're in Canada, in which case it's about koha.
And that comes in very helpful. Like I've had before where I'm like, oh, I'm on the right version. And then I looked in the details and I'm like, oh, that feature is in release number 7 and we're on 3. So then I got to get our IT people to, can you update us to number 7 so I can have this feature?
And if there are any problems in your database, they'll sometimes show up under system information, like little warnings.
I did not know that. Is there anywhere else I need to go to teach me something?
Well, also on the server on that first tab that tells you what version you're on, if you're using Elasticsearch, it will also show up here.
Or Zebra.
Or Zebra, and what version.
Yeah, and it tells you all the, I don't know what all of these words mean. Other than they are needed for Koha to work. And if you do a little bit of research, sometimes the reason your problem exists is because something over here needs to be updated.
Oh,
I've run into that before where, oh, the Debian, we're on the wrong version of Perl, or like something like that was, we're on an old version and they did an update, or we I can't remember what it was, but that has happened before. It's like, okay, you need to know what Koha is running on. That does make a difference. So, okay, I'm done. That was my it took.
thank you for sharing that.
Now, one thing I am working on, if anyone is interested, I'm wanting to create something where we can have a standardized, these are all the fields for a print book. These are all the fields for an online PDF or a Kindle, and then we can share that with everybody. I'm slowly finding multiple bugs that are kind of related to the concept. So right now I'm in research bug mode, because I think it's one of those that, okay, there's 20 different bugs that everyone's just doing their little piece of the pie. And if we could show how they all work together, we might actually get it to get worked on. But I got it. So if you know of any bugs that are like that, or you're interested in that, please let me know so I would love help.
Great.
It's one
And
of the things
also
I'm-
it is very helpful when people, I would say anybody can get an account on Bugzilla, and you can always put in a comment saying, is this related to bug blah blah blah? Is this a duplicate of bug blah 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 blah? I think this has to do with bug blah 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 blah, and it will get the developers and people's attention into that. Bruce says he has a question about memcache.
Right. I was looking at my about screen while we were doing this and realized that my memcache says it's not set up. Is this a problem that I should fix?
Does anybody know about this?
Would this explain relatively slow operation?
It might, yes.
Okay.
But what to do about it, I'm not sure.
That might be a question for the system administrator, Sig.
I'll start with the wiki so that I get credibility when I take it there and see what I can do.
Or the main Koha discussion list is a good place too. Well, since we've brought Fred into the discussion, are you ready to share?
Yes. I have almost completed the redo of the MedStar authors catalog. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So what? Okay, I'm on 2211 point. Probably not the latest one. They have an RSS feed, but I need to find a new supplier, which might be for the koha-US list. But can search. I changed some of these. And from advanced search, I can search for author, institution, name of the journal. People go to conferences, I've indexed those. Graduate medical education wants to know, what authors are in what programs. And it turns out that well, I'll get to that in a moment. So let's try keyword surgery.
This looks really good, Fred.
Thank you. And let's say you go to here. This doesn't have everything possible, but you have the authors, their residents, and I've added it more recently. It's going to be a comma and then which program they're in, like pediatric endocrinology, at what hospital. This is the institute that sponsored this poster, and here is the name of the conference. People wanted fiscal year or year, and date added to catalog. Either find out what's new, or if I screwed up an entire batch, I can figure out what I added that day. Let me try MedStar Health. Get a journal. But never mind. To advanced search and limit to.
This is
General.
such a neat application for the Koha system. It's, for indexing.
And once I figured out what I was doing, it became a lot easier. Okay, let's try. For some reason, these don't have institution. I have to figure that out. And I want to tweak the see, OPAC search results display on XSL, so I just have the authors and not all their other stuff. But this is what happens. This person works here in this program. Okay, this is the I type, and that is the Medline class here. And I'm not sure what these two bars are doing here. There should be only one thing in the field, but I think I need to do some re-indexing. DOI, and you can actually see it because it's in the 856U and Z field. And I did this with the search engine configuration Elasticsearch, which is much easier than configuring Zebra. If you go to bibliographic records, here are all the indexes or search fields. Here is all the mapping. So let's say you want to add a 651A, just put it in here and then figure out which index. My problem was I put the institution and department in the subject line. So if you put, I just want to be able to do institution and come up with only institutions. You can see there are an awful lot of various places. I'm not going to use music key for anything, so I can repurpose it for something else. And let's see. And let's see, I have, this is what it looked like. Yeah, the call number is now, well, it's always been 099. If it's locally produced, 098. And turns out putting all the 790s on separate lines is making a problem for something else. So I can just search and replace and put it all on one line. And the only thing you really have to do to be able to use Elasticsearch easily is you need access to the command line. Because you have to re-index Elasticsearch when you're finished. And you just say koha Elasticsearch rebuild DV, and then the name of it. So, okay, this is easy for various definitions of easy, but I mean, it does take a while. But if you want to add, let's say, one thing I ran across was the awards that the publication has gotten. You want that to show up in the OPAC. Just index the awards and put a few lines in the OPAC details XSL file, and that is easier than it looks. Although if you get one little thing out of alignment, it'll break the whole thing. Bruce, you've tried it. I can see you nodding.
Coding is always going to be like that.
Yes, which is why I recommend saving each particular change, let's say A, B, C, D, and when you run out, 1A, 1B, 1C, because if you really break it.
Programmer and obsessive compulsive go in the same sentence.
Yeah. For the details, I ended up, and I didn't use all of the letters for each number, but I think I'm in the 7s for the detail. And there's going to be an 8, I think.
We have a comment in the chat. That would be so nice. Yeah. We're on Elastic and I love it so much better than Zebra. We're hosted, so I have help,
Yeah.
I can make the changes and then I have help.
That's one reason I'm stuck with Zebra. That and I'm on
there-
old stable, so Elasticsearch isn't really recommended yet.
let's see, I think you can use Elasticsearch version 6. I found fairly clear instructions on how to do it somewhere. But yeah, 2205 won't take Elasticsearch 7.
We have some comments in the chat about, planning to move and being chicken about moving. It is a big change.
Yes, I found adding new things and configuring new things was harder than Elasticsearch. Just install it, start it up, go into the cataloging, I think cataloging preferences, and change from Zebra to Elastic. By the way, I have not touched the old currently available version of the catalog because I want to make sure everything is right. So always, if you can, always use a backup.
That's done automatically for me, and that as a result, Monday is when I do all my experimentation.
Yeah, I think ours backs up automatically, but I'm not sure. And fortunately, I've never had to use it.
You probably should once in a while, just to make sure you can retrieve the data.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of situations in my time with computers where somebody made all these wonderful backups and there was no restore function.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, my systems run on DigitalOcean and it's set to automatically back up. And I sure hope that DigitalOcean knows what they're doing and can restore. Anyway, it's possible. I'm probably going to do part of this, maybe how to index new fields and add it to the OPEC or apply to do a presentation in Portsmouth. And I really hope that this time I can write up all the steps, my documentation.
I am anxiously awaiting your presentation.
Yes.
I haven't even applied yet.
Doesn't matter. It sounds like something I would really like to know.
Yes.
You can save me hours of work.
Okay.
And a for sure in the chat too. So there you go. Well, Fred, thank you. That was great. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring to the group?
Hi, can I just unmute and talk? Hi,
Please
I'm
do.
Miranda. I'm the head of cataloging for the Ocean State Libraries Consortium. We are in the middle of migrating training to go live at the end of May. So I definitely have some just general questions, if that's cool.
Absolutely cool. Bring them, because you will not be the only one with these questions. I can guarantee it.
Hopefully
one quick
others
question
can learn
from
from
me.
them. Sure.
Are you hosted or are you on your own?
I believe that we're hosted.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes it easier.
That's what I'm hoping. So one question that has kind of come up a lot on our end, our most recent meeting with, we're using Bywater. I don't know if generally everyone's using Bywater. Our recent meeting with them was about reports, and they asked us to come up with some ideas for canned reports that we would want to see, or general reports that we run. Currently we're on Sierra. General reports that we run on a regular basis so that they can kind of have those ready for us. And I was wondering if anybody used to be on Sierra or a different ILS, were there reports that you could run in Koha that you were like, whoa, this is so cool. Couldn't get that information from our other one, or like, oh, this is information we always wanted to know and never knew how to get it. Do you have like favorite reports to run?
I'm gonna chime in and say that I've used innovative products in other libraries. I've used lots of other systems. I am constantly blown away by the flexibility of koha reporting system. The koha reports are an entirely different, wonderful universe because they can be written to get at absolutely anything and everything in your records, no matter where they are in your records, and any combination. And then also when you're going live, your reports are not, and this is another wonderful thing about koha, you're not making an irreversible decision. Everything is flexible and changeable. So you can say, I think we'd like these canned reports. You go live, and then you can say, oh, I like that report a little different. I find I'm not using that report at all, so we're just going to delete that. I'd like to, reorganize my reports. I want my reports on different tabs. I want this report to be shareable with these staff members. I want this report to go into this public search. Oh, and there's a report I never even thought of. I'd like this one. So
Yeah, we're very excited to kind of we can do a lot with Create List. We have a lot of like really power users. So we've figured out kind of complicated ways of using Create List, but it is so not user friendly to people who just I just want to know all my missing items, right? So we are very excited to have those canned reports where we can kind of do the SQL stuff behind the scenes if we want to do it. We have a couple of people who are really good at SQL. So we're hoping that they will help with that end of it, and just kind of we have about 50 libraries in our consortium, all public. And, that could be, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of users logging in. So we want to make sure that it's easy enough for the people who just want to say like missing items for this library since this date, and just have them be able to kind of click buttons, as opposed to having to write the full create list or find a saved search and write it that way and accidentally put a space somewhere that throws the whole thing off. And
I'm going to also encourage you to go to the Consortia Special Interest Group, because there you will encounter people who have already figured out ways for the staff at this library to do this and access this, the staff at that library to do that. There are a lot of, I'd say, like the missing is right there. It's like boom, boom. It's not even a special report.
Yeah.
But again, there's going to be consortia things I'm not familiar with. If you haven't, I would explore the reports available on the Koha Wiki in the reports area. Those are fantastic. And then also you have the choice about whether or not to participate in Mana for reports. And right from your reports module, you can share reports with Mana and you can import reports from Mana. So those are incredibly useful report libraries. And I have found, for cleaning up our authority records, some really useful reports in those areas. Would anybody else like to chime in? I've been, I love the reports feature so much. I've been dominating.
Well, Heather said, go ahead.
There is a special interest group for reports. The system administration / reports. So that's where I went for my bug. But I learned, I need to go here whenever I want this done, and the report doesn't exist on the wiki. If I go here, people can help me create this, because I do not know SQL. I know English, sort of. I know no other language.
You have to think like a computer. I
It's
was gonna mention,
also, I would
That's
say it's
not easy.
also, I'm going to chime in and say it's also extremely easy to add your reports then to the wiki and to Mana. Fred?
Okay.
yeah, well, actually Heather said pretty much everything I was going to say. I will say not all of the reports on the wiki still work because things have changed over the years.
Mhm.
But George Williams used to do a this kind of thing for a consortium, and he was talking about his library had hundreds of reports, and of course, anytime he deleted one, someone said, "Where's my report? I only need it once every 5 years," but that's now. So look at the conference archives, and he and Christopher Brandon do a terrific every other Tuesday video.
Oh, all right.
I don't understand most of them. Also, the guided SQL report writer in koha does not have a good reputation. I've tried
Okay.
it, and occasionally I can get really simple things to work, but if you know somebody knows SQL, they're going to have a much easier time than I have.
Yeah, our executive director is he's sort of like hands off to the whole thing, except for he is the one who knows SQL. So he's like, that's pretty much all I can help with. Cataloging, SERP rules, load rule, like all of that stuff. He's like, you guys kind of have to figure out that stuff on your own because I don't deal with that. But any SQL stuff you need, just come find me. So
It's
we are very
refreshing to have a
grateful for that.
manager with at least one redeeming virtue.
That's true. And he is the first to admit that.
Miranda,
Yes.
we're a very small consortium and also hosted by Bywater. Their support team will write you reports after
Okay.
you've tried to write one several times and it says error, not found something, and the other error messages. After about half a dozen tries, I bump into Bywater and they come back with a report, and then I look at it and say, that doesn't quite work, but if I move this, I can edit that
Okay.
term. I can do the dummy block stacking. I just can't do the which block am I using sometimes. The reports writer is really fun when you need to know what the variable is. You just go through and set it up and then read the damn variables and pick out the one you need. Sometimes it gives me a name that I would never have thought of. Good luck.
Thank you.
And reports can also be written to ask for things. Like one of the ones that I'm using is particular string in a 650 field in the bibliographic records, or a particular string in this field, and I put in the string I want and it gives me all the records. You can get the records back hyperlinked or non-hyperlinked. And then also, yeah, I'm gonna put in a pitch too for, even if Bywater writes you a custom report, they're very open to then you sharing that report on the report wiki or Mana.
Okay.
They don't
Great.
automatically just put them there. I'm sorry, I thought they did. I apologize.
Too many of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I really like about koha. If you want it to do something, chances are you can make it do something, and you don't have to worry about the owning company saying, "Oh no, you can't do that. We might have it available in 5 years."
Or,
Right,
oh,
the
we should have
spirit of-
charged you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back
So
in
when
my
you get a report, is often like, can you, I guess the second step after that, you get a list of the records that meet your criteria. If you want to make some sort of change, can you then just export like the records from the report into, say, MarcEdit? Okay,
Yes. It's so easy and wonderful.
awesome.
Yeah, you
You
can.
can also edit directly from the, if you're, I don't remember which
depends on your
version
edit.
it came with, but you can batch edit items, you can batch edit records using templates, or you can download directly and then do a batch edit and mark edit. You can move all the items to a list. So a lot of times I'll move all the items to a list so that I can get the records, and then I will export the mark records from there and do all my lovely editing. I had to do that for my 856 records that all had and put it back on.
Yeah. And a typical question is too with Koha is when you export to Mark Edit, you've sent copies. So what you're working on in Mark Edit are copies. You're not affecting your database until you intentionally send them back to overlay in your database. And also keep in mind that we're here for you. You can say, okay, now I'm going to share my screen. This is my report. I want to do this. Is this going to do this? Is that going to do that?
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, you can also export records in CSV, which I have found very helpful.
Miranda,
Yes.
be careful when you're doing with Mark Edit to match the character set when you import. Because if you don't, it will muck up all of your diacritical marks. You'll be finding them for the rest of your life, which is full employment, but it's not fun.
Yeah.
This is also very important for when you're importing mark records, bibliographic authority, etc. Especially if you're an OCLC user, you've got to have your character sets correctly in the other, whether it's OCLC or Mark Edit or whatever, and yeah, have it set correctly for the import in Koha.
It just has to match. There isn't really a correct.
Yeah, as long as they're
you
just
have it-
the same.
As long as it's the same.
The Koha likes UTF-8.
But it will accept the others if you have to. It will accept, whatever the previous version was, which is the one Mark Edit was working in. Brain gone,
Discovered
sorry.
that when
Good
I
coffee.
transferred our old Horizon database to a new one. Oops, where are all these little question marks?
Yeah, we are currently, we're an OCLC subscriber, but we are testing out BTCat, the Baker and Taylor cataloging utility. And they don't like each other. So like if I catalog something in BTCat and then try to send it to OCLC to upload a master record there, the diacritics are all off. So they are both, and then there's, I don't know, it just decides which one it wants to do when it comes into Sierra. Sometimes they come up as little squares, sometimes it changes like the whole font of the record if like one character is in a different character set. So we are,
that might be better in Koha.
yeah, Sierra is very bad about diacritics, and they are not super helpful in trying to help us how to figure out where we're going wrong. But when we talked about that in our Bywater meetings, they were like, we will take care of all of that. Do not worry. So very excited about that. They're going to, when we're do our final data load, they're going to convert everything into whichever one it needs to be. So then just making sure that going forward, whatever records we're bringing in match that one will be hopefully our main issue.
Yeah, Koha is good with diacritics in some ways because it's in so many languages. Like it has to work in languages all over the world because programmers are writing code to make it work. And because we found that, like, yeah, I've had problems in other software where the diacritics, like, it just doesn't handle the script. Koha will at least display the script, especially in the 880. For a lot of our high script, which is helpful. I have some records, I don't know what happened because it's a letter number combination. And I'm like, I think at one time this was a language, but it got imported in without someone double checking the UTF-8 or But I'm like, and they didn't write the language code, because we have a lot that are not in the Library of Congress language codes, the
Mhm.
ISO 2, because we work with all 7,000 plus languages that are in the ISO 3. So it's like, okay, I can't choose between 7,000 languages to figure out which one this was supposed to be. I need to put the code, but I'm like, this just doesn't look right. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like language. But koha handles.
One of the advantages of a small library, I can just go grab the book.
Well, see, I'm remotely.
Yeah.
So, and I randomly run across it, and I'm like, all right, I need to find, is this a library where someone is actually staffed that they can go and look and see what in the world happened? But then sometimes you need the right keyboard
Yep.
to make it work.
Or knowledge of how to work around that. I've become quite adept at putting in strange languages with a standard keyboard. It's slow, but it works. Assuming that I'm perceptive enough to tell the difference between two characters in a foreign language or a foreign alphabet that, you know, are only subtly different.
Yeah.
Do you do it by putting in the ASCII code, or is there an easier way?
Sometimes I resort to ASCII code. There are other tables I can use, but it always comes back to that.
I've had really good luck sometimes with just a copy paste and it works.
Mhm.
Yeah, but unfortunately I'm doing all original cataloging, and so you know if I didn't get it the right thing in Z3950, I gotta scratch my head and figure it out.
I also love the advanced bibliographic editor. So there's
Yeah.
also, I don't know, Miranda, if you've been shown the two different bibliographic editors, there's a simple one. Yeah. So sometimes there's differences there too when you're working with diacritics.
Good to know.
Basically, I just have a little text file with all the most commonly used ones that I can't do with a keyboard sequence, and I just quick cut and paste.
Mm-hmm.
Not proud, but it works.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah, whatever you can do.
If you want to try that, the trick is doing it with a text editor and not with a word processor like LibreOffice, because they don't do it the same.
I'll also put in a pitch for using demo systems. Bywater has demos, koha-US has a demo. So you can go into those systems and play around with the cataloging editor and experiment, which is really good if you don't have your own test system.
Yeah. You had mentioned that you use, I think it was you, Heather, who use MarcEdit, and you had some reports that you liked for authority work. Do you use an authority vendor to get your records?
We use OCLC and I do all the authority work. A lot of Koha libraries do use authority vendors. If you're interested in talking to people about vendors and vendor processes, and I would say I would go to the koha-US list, the Bywater partners list, and the main Koha list, and then also bring and talk here. Many people do one cleanup and then take the ongoing authority work in-house. Many people have ongoing relationships with authority vendors and have monthly or even quarterly processes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just wondering how, because there are certain fields at the top of Sierra records, like fixed fields with different codes that are not going to transfer over. And we use those fixed fields. There's like auth code 1 and auth code 2 that we use to mark something as this is to be reported as a deletion to, we use Backstage as our vendor. So this one needs to be reported as a deletion. This needs to be reported as an addition. This needs to be reported as like a local edit we made to a Library of Congress heading. And so I was just sort of wondering if anybody has a similar process and how you kind of mark something, or is it like, I'll just delete something and then run a list of every authority record that I deleted and then just send that to Backstage instead of trying to mark it as for deletion?
I would say talk to Bywater about this
Yeah.
in detail, because they might have, they can work definitely with mapping and how to do that tracking in Koha, but also, yes, take this. I'm gonna, take it to the sources that I mentioned, but also, yeah, does anybody here have any input today? So Koha does have ways to mark things withdrawn and then have the record. Koha also has ways to suppress the record. And then those things can be worked on. And Koha is so flexible. You've seen today how Fred has you can add any non-standard field you want and use it in any way you want. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is all definitely possible, but do take it to those sources I mentioned, but also the system administration group.
Okay. Thank you.
There are a couple of things that probably aren't going to be helpful in your case, but might be. First of all, if you go into Mark Edit on reports, you can get a count of every field, and if you specify every subfield, so you can see what is being used. And you can also, say, export the databases. Well, if you have your entire database and you pop it into Mark Edit, you can export 1 or 2, 3, however many you want fields as a CSV file. Open it in Excel and then go to delete duplicates. And then you will have a record of every unique, let's say, author field. You can see what you need to clean up.
That is helpful. So is there a way, is exporting bib records into, or authority records or whatever, into Mark Edit the only way to kind of extract an individual field? So like, could I from Koha extract just like ISBNs and bib utility numbers from within Koha? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easily, very easily.
Okay. So I don't have to export it into Mark Edit.
No.
Just to do that, but the counting part is nice from Mark Edit. Yeah.
If you want to muck it about and put it back in, Mark Edit's a smarter way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, take some of my advice with a grain of salt. Last time I did a presentation with Lauren, I had a picture of a crescent wrench and some nails. I don't always do it the most elegant way, but I do it in a way that works.
Works. Yeah.
I
However,
recently did a project that was similar. We had a class of we had a group of records that I needed to delete from Koha and also delete our holdings from OCLC. So it was actually a fairly straightforward project to define the report to get those group of records, and in that report to have the OCLC numbers in a way that it was super easy then to import them into Connection Client and have the delete holdings run.
Oh, good.
Snap.
Yeah. We do that same process. So I'm glad that that's great. Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'm excited, even though it's a lot of change. We have about 50 libraries, so we have about 50 different workflows that we have to figure out how to transition from Sierra to Koha. So it's a big change, but I'm excited for the opportunity to at least streamline some of those 50 different workflows.
Well, welcome to the community. We're really glad
Thank
you're here.
you.
And please mention that the special interest groups are open to everyone. And we welcome your library staff, of course.
You might regret that if I open it up to certain people. Just kidding.
Hey,
Just
We
kidding.
put up with Fred and I.
Yeah. And besides, Heather has the ability to mute anyone or drop them entirely. She hasn't done that to me yet. So.
Yeah.
Not that you know of.
Point.
Well, we have a few more minutes if anybody else has anything they'd like to bring to the group.
Oh, one thing. Oh, go ahead. I've said too much, Shane.
I could use a referral to a good assassin. My board's trying to give away our library.
Oh.
We're recording.
Oops.
There's another thing that I found a while ago that really thrilled Lauren, and maybe make you happy. If you want to do a search and then select some items and put them either in a list or in a cart, you can download those MARC records. So.
Oh, handy. Yeah. I think
But I still say you and I need to create like a short 15-minute video of all the ways you can export.
I think
Mark
it should
record.
be. Please take that to Christopher and George for the every other Thursday.
Either that or take it to the conference.
And take it to the conference. Yes. Yes. So that is something that, yeah, Miranda, reports are not the only way. Lists are really super neato keen.
Mhm.
Carts have lots of functionality.
Yeah, I don't think we've really seen lists or carts. Well, we've seen like Aspen lists. We're also doing Aspen at the same time, a transition, but not lists in Koha yet, or carts at all. So, well, we don't use acquisitions at all in none of our libraries. So if carts are acquisitions, then
No,
Okay.
cart. I can share my screen really quickly. Let me get our Koha instance up and ready here. All right. And I'm clicking very slowly today. Here we go. Gonna share the screen. Can you see my Koha? All
Yes.
right. So let me move this. So when you're logged into either the staff client or the OPAC, there is a cart, and that's for a nice temporary, like I want to grab some records. I'm going to grab this one and this one and this one, and I'm going to add them to my cart. And I can do various things from the cart. I can download, I can print, I can email them, and our users, in fact, use this often to send the records to our reference librarian or send them to us. It's a really handy little thing. And then empty and close, easy peasy. And lists are also either tied to your account and are private or can be made public. They can be shared. They can go into public displays again, and they have, again, different functionality.
That's really cool because I think we use create lists currently as a mix of reporting and those type of lists. Of just like everything by an author from Rhode Island, you know.
Yeah.
So that'll be really handy. Yeah. And it's nice that we're not limited to a certain number of lists with a certain number of record sizes. And if we need more, we have to purchase them. And
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
yeah, very excited for a lot of the things that Koha has expanded on for us.
Yeah, I won't go into details of why I need to do this, but sometimes when I get a whole lot of titles I need to delete because they're ebooks and we can't get to them anymore, make a search for each title, make sure it's the one from this publisher, and then do batch delete.
Oh, right from those lists.
Right from the cart, yeah.
Or in the
Oof,
cart, yeah.
they're gone.
That's great. I think that will help a lot of our staff when they do like weeding projects, just add them. We are not adding ebook records. We are using just an Overdrive API in Aspen. So that will free up a lot of time for us because we spend a lot of time doing essentially original cataloging on ebook records because the ones that we get are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very excited about that.
I'm also, before we go, going to put in a pitch for getting an account on Bugzilla, because a lot of the times you'll ask, I want to do this. I need Koha to do this. And, you know, you bring it to the koha-US SIG, you ask on the Koha main email list, and you find out it doesn't yet do that. You can, anybody can type the bug into Bugzilla saying, all right, I'd like Koha to do this. And the Koha community is super friendly. Never be afraid to, quote, make a mistake or put in something that's already there. People will chime in and say, oh, this is really 2 bugs. Let's move it here. Or this is really a big thing. We need to know this, and get more comments. So dive in.
Awesome.
And join koha-US if you haven't.
Okay, will do.
We need your money.
Well, we're just about at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.